Oftentimes ask, what happens when somebody brings a horse into training? And folks, first of all, you got to understand that I've heard every story that you can think of when people bring me a horse to train. Oh, I would have done it myself, except, or he's a really good horse, except. In other words, there's always these exceptions, right?
The yeah buts.
And all the yeah buts, but I appreciate those. But to be honest, I tell people very respectfully, if I can, I listen to nobody when it comes to a horse but the horse. In other words, horses have no motive to lie, and no motive to tell a story, no motive to stretch it, or no motive to make it sound better than it was or worse than it was. They just kind of tell it like it is. So because of that, whenever somebody asks me what I do when I very first bring a new horse into the property or into the facility, I don't care if it's a colt that's never been haltered. I don't care if it's a horse that's never been saddled. I don't care if it's a horse that just has a problem. I don't care if it's a horse that just needs a tune-up. I don't care if it's a performance horse that we're getting ready to take to the show pen. Whatever that horse is, we go back to the round pen as if it's never been touched, and we literally start all over.
Back to the basics.
Back to the basics. In other words, the fundamental success of my entire program has always been nothing beyond the basics, and I can't emphasize that anymore. So over the next several episodes, we're going to be covering nothing beyond the basics, and we're going to break it down into several different parts. First and foremost is kind of the topic of today's podcast, which is the path of least resistance, and what does that mean, and why is it so important?